To order this meeting of the Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation for Wednesday, October 11th. The first item of business is to take the roll. So with that in mind, Vice President Jill Pack.
Here.
Secretary John Salowitz.
Here.
Ryan Cambridge is not here. Let the record show. Chris Barksdale.
Here.
Kimberly Lane.
Here.
Coralie Palmer.
Yeah.
And I'm here as well, obviously. So we have 6 tonight. We have a quorum. We can move forward. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the September 13th, 2023 meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to take a glance at those? Anybody have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Jill Pack makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kimberly Lane makes a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All
Abstain.
opposed?
Was not here, so abstain.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is public presentations or comments. I don't believe anybody in the room tonight to do that. Anybody online, Drew? No. Okay, so we'll move on. The next item on the agenda is the Pathways Committee update. The Pathways Committee has been busy the last few months, and Chris Barksdale is our liaison to the Pathways Committee. Chris?
Yes, we continue to identify potential pathways and prioritize what we think is maybe the most pressing, but we encourage the community to reach out and via email with any recommendations they might have. We cannot think of all of the little places that are in need of pathways. We're also going to try to work on identifying a process for when new developments are brought before the town. We want to make sure that pathways are being considered in any new developments, and so that the committee can make any recommendations on pathways or what might make the most sense. So that's kind of our next pressing thing.
Okay, great. Anybody have any questions for Chris or any comments?
No.
All right, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, we're going to get into the staff reports, and we begin with our superintendent, Jared Logston. Hello, Jared.
Good evening, John. Thank you. Good evening, Park Board. Just a couple of items I'd like to highlight from the superintendent report. Earlier this month, I attended the IPRA Trails Gathering in Goshen, Indiana. It was a great opportunity to talk about the trail initiatives around the state, best practices, and other seminars to inspire ideas for programming our trails. So bringing back some ideas from that. I want to give a special shout out and kudos to our maintenance team for finishing the rail trail bollard installation along all intersections of the Big Four rail trail. So pretty large task when you look at the specs of how much concrete had to be poured and the asphalt removed. So I want to give a special kudos to them. Want to update the Park Board on where the master plan is. So earlier this year, you approved a resolution to adopt the parks 5-year master plan for 2023 through 2028. That draft has been sent to the Plan Commission, and at the September 18th meeting, it received a 7 in favor, 0 opposed recommendation to be forwarded to Town Council. So those documents will be before Town Council and on an upcoming agenda soon, we hope, for final approval and adoption into our comprehensive plan. And once in there, we can get rolling on all the projects, initiatives, and opportunities within that document. 2 more items of note. Earlier this month, we celebrated our connection with Whitestown as they finalized their segment of the Big Four Rail Trail and had a great ceremony with stakeholders, the state of Indiana's DNR, as well as representatives from both communities as we celebrate that community connection. And last week, we also had a dedication ceremony for the Carpenter Nature Preserve. So Thursday, October 5th, we did sign the dotted line, and that 215 acres in Union Township is now under the purview, stewardship, and care of the Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation. So a great victory for our park system, moving us up from 500 acres to 715 now. And so we'll get to work on the next phases of that public park. And that's all from the superintendent report.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Jared? All right, thank you, Jared. Let's move on then with our maintenance director, Chris Flanagan, making his way to the podium right now. Hello, Chris.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good.
Good. All righty. So to get started, we had no instances of graffiti logged for September. How great is that? In general, we had the Wabash Club of Indianapolis came out and they helped volunteer deadheading some of the sedges at Mulberry Fields. We really appreciate the hours they put in. It was a lot of good hard work they did. So at the Big Four Rail Trail, we placed habitat restoration signage at the northern expansion. Our natural resources technician planted trees along the trail at the Spring Knoll corridor. We dug, framed out, poured concrete for the memorial bench pad near the Overly Warman Park Bridge. And once that was set, installed that memorial bench. We installed a new bike rack near the Starkey switchbacks. We placed benches and trash receptacles at the new Zionsville trailhead and prepped for that opening. And as Jared mentioned, we installed those bollards at the northern expansion road crossings. And I do want to say a special thank you to the Zionsville wastewater department for lending us the use of their water vac truck. That made the job exponentially easier. Carter Station, we just blew off leaves and debris from hardscape trails. We have actually started doing that fairly regularly now that autumn is upon us. So we're getting out there a lot doing that. Heritage Trail Park, our natural resources technician planted 12 total maple trees in the dog park, six in each side. We removed posts and fencing from the established trees in the dog park. We laid stone in the low wet areas throughout the dog park to help some of the soggy and muddy spots. And we installed info signs for the community gardens. At Lincoln Park, we did some spot spraying and removed volunteer growth in the landscape beds, and we decorated the gazebo and entrances to the parks with mums to match the season. Creekside Nature Park and Creekside Corporate, we blew leaves and debris from the hardscape trails and cleared some fallen trees that had been blocking the paths. Elm Street Green, again, installed info signs for the community gardens, blew leaves and debris from the hardscape trails, playgrounds, and shelters, and we had to treat a large ground hornet's nest, which had developed along the trail. At Mulberry Fields, we planted 3 tulip trees. We installed the prairie information signage. One is located inside the Mulberry Fields playground and the other is located along the prairie pathway near Ford Road. We replaced a broken irrigation valve box, and Musco was out installing new controllers for our field light system out there. And I did some troubleshooting out there and we're good to go there.
Good.
All righty, at Starkey Park, blew leaves and debris from the switchbacks, cleared mud from the boardwalks and stairs. And I met with a Girl Scout who is interested in rebuilding one of the bridges in Lower Starkey for their Gold Award project. So I will have more information there as that proceeds. At Turkey Foot Nature, our natural resources technician Sam led this fall's first weed wrangle there. We picked up where we left off last season, making our way towards Eagle Creek. We did only have 1 volunteer show up for that. However, they did get a very large amount of work done. So kudos to them and the work they did. We did some temporary repairs on some rotted boards along the bridge at Turkey Foot. We have ordered some replacement boards. We have to get those especially milled. So we installed some additional bollards in Lower Turkey Foot and at Redbud Trail entrance to further deter unauthorized motor vehicles from driving on the pathways. We replaced a damaged dog waste station and again blew leaves and debris from hardscape trails. At Legion, we trimmed along the fence lines leading to the rail trail, trimmed shrubs and spot treat landscape beds, blew debris. Nature Sanctuary, all we really did out there was clear some of the boardwalks and we had another ground hornet's nest to treat. At Overly Warman Park, blew leaves and debris from the hardscape trails, trimmed and sprayed the gravel beds near the Overly Warman Park Bridge, replaced dog waste station bag dispensers that had been damaged. We trimmed along the mountain bike trail and disc golf course and cleared fallen trees that were blocking the rustic trails. At Village Corner, our natural resources technician applied an insecticidal soap to the redbud tree to treat a scale infection. And then at just tennis court and tot lots was just resetting the nets to proper height and clearing debris. That's all I got.
It's a lot. Busy month.
We're always.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Chris?
One question, the crossing at 875 Rail Trail, is that, there's still a lot of chatter online about.
I'm working on it.
It's still-
I'm in
still
contact with our contractor for that, trying to come up with a solution. We think the issue is with the brain box. I'm trying to troubleshoot that to see if we'll need to order an entirely new one.
So,
So definitely I'm working on it.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, next up is our Director of Recreation Services, Mindy Murdoch.
All right. Good evening, everyone. A few things to highlight for the month of September. One, we moved full speed into school programming. So you see, we had quite a number of both for kindergarten and first grade at Pleasant View Elementary and Boone Meadow Elementary, that the naturals were out there for several days. This month, actually, Rachel kicked off her nature connections. So she'll be out. She was actually out at Eagle Elementary most of this week, and she'll be out at Trailside and a little bit later after fall break. So we are right in the busiest time for school season for our programs. We moved our intro to pickleball classes from the tennis courts at Lions to Mulberry Field last month. Went very well. Seemed like the participants that usually use the courts were very understanding. We made sure we had some good signage so people knew that we were using those for those programs. So we will have those. We have a couple this month, and then we'll take a break until the spring when we can bring those back in. But they always are very well attended and very popular. So just a few other things with our outreach and our events. We attended our last farmers market on September 2nd with the Creek Stomper. So had good attendance in that, good opportunity to talk to a lot of people about different things. If anyone happened to be at the Fall Festival Parade, we were there, all my staff and the Creek Stomper itself, and you happen to notice the green shirts. So those shirts, just based off of feedback that people yelled to us during the parade and then approached me at Aldi after the parade, we decided to put those up as a pre-order. So that pre-order is going until Friday. So I know a lot of you have already snagged a shirt, but Friday will be the last day. And right now we're about 115 shirts that we have sold. So once we get those pre-order sales, we'll get those ordered, and hopefully everyone will have them for if they want to do holiday gifts. So we also had some private rentals at the Creek Stomper. We went back out to Rain Tree Community again. We were there last fall, so they did invite us to come back again. It stormed pretty much right up to like half an hour after the event was supposed to start, but we still were able to do it. It was just a little soggy. And then I know Chris had mentioned, but our staff had worked at doing some interpretive signage. So we replaced the interpretive signs that were at Mulberry Fields that had to be taken down just because of age. They had deteriorated. And then also our staff worked on the new sign that is at the golf course with the restoration project. So those were nice to be seen. And then of course, we never keep things going slowly. So we've got two big events going on this month in October. And so ticket sales for those are going very well. One is our long-standing Trick or Trees program, which will be Elm Street Green. So we've got about 40 spots left for that one. And then we'll determine if we want to try to open some more spots or not. And then the other one is the new Fright Nights at Maple Lawn Farmstead. If you haven't gone by the farmstead and gotten scared by the scarecrow that's sitting out there. So those sales are going slowly, but I think they will pick up once people realize that it's Halloween season and they're looking for things to do. So, but that's all I have unless you have questions.
So the shirts that we're selling, 115 of them, you said at $25 a piece. So we're gonna have to pay for the shirts, but there's gonna be money left over. So what are we specifically gonna do with the money that's left over?
That money will go into our 211. It'll be used for our programming. So it'll stay within the department for the nature center and rec programming. So we haven't anything earmarked specifically for it, but that was just kind of a general opportunity to kind of fundraise to get a little bit extra in there for, our programmings are growing, especially with our events. So our costs grow with that as well. So it's nice to have a little cushion here to work with.
And I mentioned to the board, they would make excellent stocking stuffers.
Yeah.
Leslie Noakes, near family.
Exactly. If one neglected to fill out the form when it came across your social media, is it on the website anywhere? Like, to
Or-
order one.
to order one. Yes. It will actually go out again on social media. But if you would go to the MyRec website, the one we use for all our registration, under, I can't remember which tab it is. I think it's under the program tab. There's one that says Park Store. And if you click on that, there's an area that says Park Apparel. And that's how you can get to it if you can't find a shortcut. Or you can always ask me and I'll help you out. So.
Yeah. Anybody else? Thank you, Mindy. Next up and making his way to the microphone here is our golf course manager, Mike Wall. Mike?
Good evening. The golf course. Yeah, we had another great month at the golf course. Just over $72,000 in revenue. To date, we are over $550,000 in revenue at the golf course, which is roughly $2,500, almost $2,600 per day that we're open. That will obviously decrease, I mean, as we go now into the twilight, but for every day that we've been open, we've been making roughly $2,600 a day. So for rounds, we're now over 23,000 rounds. So that's roughly 110 rounds every day that we've been open. Obviously, we've been closed some days, so that includes those days that we've been closed. So 110 rounds per day. That's paying customers. So whether it's a season pass, greens fees, that's 110 rounds. Now, obviously, we have people that just show up, go to the putting green. We have people that watch their son and daughter in matches. So yeah, we have a lot of people that come to the golf course on a daily basis. So 110 people every day. We've been open roughly 210 days. So 23,000 plus. So like I said, we're kind of in the twilight of our career, or not our career, but the season right now. I'm in the twilight of my career, but you can see my gray hair. So we're tailoring back. You know, right now we open around 8:30. Past 2 days we've had frost. Our last tee time is 5 p.m. We're adjusting staff, you know, every day. So we're not staffing like we were in the summer. Mowing, we're not mowing greens every day. You know, golfers know that there's going to be leaves on the green. So true golfers kind of know this, that in the fall, there'll be leaves on the green, leaves on the fairways. A couple of highlights. Yesterday, the tree on hole 5, the big cottonwood, is no more. That came down. Stump still remains, but the tree came down. It was there were some of the limbs that were coming, you know, dead. So we took it, decided, you know, last Parks Board, you guys approved, and it came down yesterday. So it will definitely make that whole play a little bit different, but it was definitely time for it to come down. October 30th and 31st, we're going to be aerating greens, tees, fairways, and top dressing greens and tees. So the course will be closed those 2 days. We'll definitely send out messages via social media in our 4UP system so that people are definitely aware. They won't be able to make tee times, but we'll definitely send out messages. But and that's about it.
Are you beginning to contemplate a closing date at this point?
Well, like I told you right before this, I mean, right now I've looked at the long-term forecast. It looks like we've been favorable so far. I mean, so season passes technically go through November 15th. The weather looks favorable, you know, temperatures in the 50s through then. So yeah, I mean, like people come in there, they ask us that question every day, and I just kind of say it's weather dependent. Last year, we did aeration the same day, and then 10 days later, we got the snow. So, Mother Nature really is dependent on when we kind of close. I've always been a proponent that, when we have that snow and it gets cold, there's really no sense in staying open, because when you take a divot and there's a ball mark on the green, they don't heal. And golf courses that kind of stay open, when you take divots and they can't heal, and then you try to open, you can make some money, but those courses that are open don't make that money in June and July, because those divots and those wounds are still there, and people don't really go back to those courses then. So once we have that snow and those cold temperatures, that's when we're going to close. And that's always been kind of my belief. So once we get cold, we'll close, and we'll be closed. We won't reopen just for a nice warm 60-degree day, just to make some money, because we'll suffer in the long run in June and July.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Mike?
No, it's not great.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right, next item, we're going to hear from our Parks attorney, Amy.
Sure. I've worked with Jared this past month to finalize the terms of the MOU for the Fright Night event at Maple Lawn. Jared mentioned also that we closed on Carpenter Nature Preserve on October 5th. So there was a lot of activity leading up to that to make sure everything was in line for closing. I have some additional information to share, but I think, are we going to talk about that now, or do you want to wait until new business?
Yep.
Okay, we'll talk about that during new business. So that's
Okay.
all I have to report.
So that's it.
Yes.
Well, Amy mentioned the Carpenter Nature Preserve. So as we move into new business, there are a couple of issues we have to deal with relative to our ownership of the Carpenter Nature Preserve. The first being a lease arrangement that we have with a person who occupies the property. So you want to get into that? Do you want to talk about it first? Do you want Amy to?
I'll set
launch
up
into
the
it?
stage and then punt it over.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
All right. Under new business, first item not on the agenda would be the consideration of developing a lease for a tenant to operate their mechanic shop out of the existing shops on the site. We could set the duration of this. My first idea would be that he would be allowed to continue business until we open up as a public park, or until construction in that area would interfere with his operations as well. Little background, this is the former mechanic for the Wolf Run Golf Course, and he has been operating independently out of that facility as the property changed hands to the Carpenters. And in that time, the Carpenters understood how fantastic of a mechanic he is. Truly anything with the motor, he can find a way to fix and bring back to life. As we began to learn about his operations, we learned that our own golf course was taking advantage of those services. So he is a legitimate business and is saving the town a lot of money by his cheaper rates and his ability to spend time with any device and get it back up to snuff. So we utilize his services with both our golf course and our parks department. If a blower goes down, or there's a carburetor issue, he's there to take a look at it and give his first opinion and get it up to speed. And if he can't, then we would take it to the dealers or wherever that equipment could be serviced further. So with your consideration, working with Amy, we would develop a lease. And to do that, there are a couple of mechanisms we have to follow. And now I will hand it over to Amy to kind of explain that process.
Yep. So in order to lease any real estate, we have to go through a statutory procedure that's almost identical to the procedure you follow when you sell real estate. So it starts with needing to get 2 appraisals of the fair market rental value of whatever land you're leasing. So this would be just very limited in scope to just the maintenance building, I believe, right? That's the scope. So we would need to get an appraisal, 2 different appraisals of the rental value for just the maintenance building. We can then advertise and receive bids for anybody who might be interested in leasing that property for no less than the average of the 2 appraisals. So that's what we would need to advertise it at. Then you would receive bids and you could lease to the highest bidder. Now you don't need to lease for the average of the 2 appraisals. You can lease for if you lease for 90% less than the average of the two appraisals, you can do so, but we just have to advertise another notice in the newspaper. So that's the full procedure before we get to the negotiation of the lease itself. And then after that, we're gonna, negotiate with whoever the lessee will be. There are certain terms involving insurance and maintenance and those sort of things.
And the idea is that Mr. Coker would stay there while the work is going on to get it ready to open to the public. Once it's open to the public, that would be when that lease would probably end, and
Yes.
he would move on and it would be open to the public.
Yep.
So that is what we were thinking of in the arrangement. Does anybody have any questions about that or any concerns, comments?
So there's a chance that if you have someone who bid this, outbid him to rent this, then he'd be out.
Mhm. There will be a chance, yeah.
But we don't have any control.
public
We have
talk.
the steps. We don't have any control over that.
Right,
You have to do the
That
public
happens.
process.
Yes, we do have to do the public process. We can put in the advertisement for bids, some specifications. You want the building to be used for such and such, so someone who's interested in using it for, a dog kennel couldn't come in, for instance, and use that building for something like that. We can set some parameters, but yes, then we receive bids and we need to. Yep.
Do we anticipate at the point where the park opens that these maintenance buildings will then be used by Parks Department for maintaining Carpenter?
Yes, and just additional storage for our operations and kind of a northern campus, 50 years from now, when we have a park system throughout Union Township, perhaps they would be able to service all that area.
Okay, anybody else? So what do we need to do? Do we need to make a motion to enter into this process of
Yes,
advertising?
exactly. Yep. I would have you entertain a motion to move forward with the procedure to lease this particular area.
And how long will it take to go through this process?
Probably a month to 2 months.
And in the meantime, he can stay
Mhm.
under the current arrangement that we have, right? Okay. All right. Does anybody like to make a motion to begin the process of considering the leasing of our facility out there at the Carpenter Nature Preserve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from John Salas. We have a second. Kimberly Lane seconds. Let's take a vote. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale,
Aye.
Kimberly Lane,
Aye.
Coralie Palmer,
Aye.
and I say aye as well, making it 6-0.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Is he currently paying the rent now?
No rent, but covering utilities. So I don't know that we need to monetize the space, but definitely cover any costs associated with it.
And as Jared said, there is a benefit to the town. He is working on our machinery and he's been helpful to the Parks Department. So he's saved us a lot of money in that process. Chris is shaking his head. He's really good at what he does.
I'm sure they could get a cost comparison if you'd like, but.
All right. Moving on now. The next item under new business also has to deal with the Carpenter Nature Preserve and the special use permit by the Nature Conservancy. Jared?
Yes, so now that the Carpenter Nature Preserve is under the purview of the Park Board, there are lots of interested parties that want to visit the site, whether that's just to celebrate the accomplishment or begin to become a partner and look at financing or partnering on future activities, endeavors, or opportunities. So at this time, to permit access to the site, since it's not ready for the public, it's not, there's a lot of hazards and potential opportunities for trouble and mischief and damage. So we will keep the facility locked and monitored, but we can permit certain activities and groups to visit the site if they sign into the special permit agreement. So the Nature Conservancy would like to invite their Board of Trustees out to the site to visit it, celebrate it, and just have a strategy session for how they can partner with us in the future. So with the Park Board approval, we would authorize the Nature Conservancy to visit the site on October 20th during the morning, with the caveat that they are to make sure that the gate is secured upon entrance and exit of the preserve and follow all existing park rules, which I've attached as an exhibit to this. So with your consideration to approve this request for a special permit to Carpenter Nature Preserve.
The question I would have is, are we indemnified against injuries if somebody turns an ankle or, something would happen out there, hit by lightning? Who knows? I mean, do we have some protection?
Yes, both the town of Zionsville, the Parks Department and the Park Board are all listed and removed from any claim, demand suit, loss, cost or expense or any damage whatsoever. Amy's vetted the process, ensured that we're protected if we grant these opportunities for individuals and groups.
That's included in the permit application.
Okay. And perhaps some of the people will be so inspired, they donate to the fund to move forward in developing that site. So that's a good thing. Anybody have any thoughts or questions about that? All right. With that being said, I'll make the motion that we accept the special permit agreement for the Carpenter Nature Preserve for the event on October 20th. Do we have a second? Coralie seconds. Let's take a vote. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale,
Aye.
Kimberly Lane,
Aye.
Coralie Palmer,
Aye.
and I say aye as well, making that pass 6-0. All righty.
Before we move on, just a question for the board. I anticipate we'll receive many more of these requests in the near future as interested parties want to go out, whether they be nature enthusiasts or potential partners, or even the Boone County Sheriff's Department who operates and trains out there. So would the board prefer that each month these agreements come before you for approval individually, or that I vet the process and the terms and then present it to the park board president for execution? We can go either way. There are, the reason I say this is because there could be opportunities where they want to come out in the next 2 weeks and we might not have a meeting before that next event.
I think the board president can execute it for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either. I mean, if things do come up, we do want to be able to take advantage and share this, beautiful spot that we have out there with as many people as we can. So,
Yeah.
And I think, I would request that you use some discretion on, the groups that are coming in, make sure it's the type of group that we would, want to welcome out there.
Absolutely.
So, okay. All right.
John, yes, I would recommend that you make a motion there
Okay.
on that one. And you could move to authorize Jared to manage this special use permit process for Carpenter Nature Preserve,
Okay.
and then recommend certain applications to John for execution and for John to sign them.
Do we have a motion to do what Amy said?
I'll make a motion to approve Jared to the special permitting for Carpenter Nature Preserve, and then have president sign off.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Chris Barksdale seconds. Let's take a vote. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale,
Aye.
Kimberly Lane,
Aye.
Coralie Palmer,
Aye.
and I say aye too. Great. Well, it's nice. The more people are going to get to enjoy it now. All right, next item, Jared. Memorial bench.
Our memorial bench program continues to be popular as more and more of the community wish to invest in our park system and partner with us on providing these opportunities for the community. So today's application would be for a bench near Laurel Avenue as the community connection enters the trail and heads towards the Starkey Bridge. This would be one of the 2 benches proposed for the historic landmark that we are partnering with the cultural district, the group of citizens that came together to create a placard for the old rail depot that used to sit there. So the pad would be a little larger, but we'd install 2 benches with that marker and kind of create a placemaking there. So with your approval, we will order this bench and plan for its install in 2024.
Do we need to make a motion for that too?
Yes.
All right, anybody want to make a motion to accept the memorial bench at the historic train station?
So
Sorry.
moved.
Chris Barksdale makes a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Kimberly Lane seconds. We can just vote by acclamation, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, there you go. 6-0 on that.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Our packets are public record, correct?
Yes.
There's personal information. I haven't seen it in previous iterations of us approving memorial benches. Can I just request that we not get that in the future?
Yep,
Like
absolutely.
less of it.
Yeah, a little
Okay.
discretion there.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Next item, the Turkey Foot Bridge inspection.
All right, thank you, John. It is time for an inspection of the Turkey Hood Bridge to ensure that it remains in safe condition for the time being for pedestrian traffic. So before you is the terms for RQAW to visit the site and develop a bridge report that we would utilize. Not only is it timely, but should there be any additional findings, we could plan for that now that we have the funding in place in 2024 to begin the design of that Turkey Foot Bridge rehabilitation. So with your authorization, we'll enter an agreement with our QAW. Amy did have a chance to look over the terms and they've already returned a copy with the updated language. So we're ready for execution upon your consideration.
When was the last time it was inspected?
Predates me. So we're a little bit, it's time to do it.
And we
How
should be
often is
doing that, what, every 2 years or every,
Between every 2 and 5. Yeah.
2 to 5?
okay. Should make a note to do that before 5 years goes by.
Yeah. We're still under 5.
Yeah, oh, I know, but it's still a bit longer than is probably comfortable, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
we need a motion for that too, to accept that? Okay, anybody want to make a motion to accept the bridge inspection?
I will move
Contract.
to approve the bid from RQAW for the Turkey Foot
All right.
Bridge inspection.
I have a motion from Joel Pack. Do we have a second?
Second.
Don Salowitz seconds. Let's take a vote on this because this is money, real money. Joel Pack,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale,
Aye.
Kimberly Lane,
Aye.
Coralie Palmer,
Aye.
and I say aye as well. All righty.
We'll just rebuild the-
Anything else under new business?
That's it for new business at the moment.
Okay, under old business now, we have the trail widening and there is a change order that's associated with that I think you all know about. And yes,
Oh, sorry. I don't know if we're on the reseeding yet or if I on the change for the seeding. Is that what you're?
yes.
Yes.
Do you want to ask a question first? You want Jared to talk about it first?
Go ahead, talk, and then I'll ask
Okay, okay.
questions. Yeah.
So phase 2, the paving is down as our communities began to notice. So all of the asphalt is down. We began to use borrow to fill in the shoulders and then topsoil will follow. So the final item to complete the project, besides a couple of miscellaneous punch list items, would be the seeding of phase 2. So along the way of the Big Four widening project that was partnered with the Northern Expansion and the Erosion Control Project, there was a miscalculation of the units required for the seed. So one of those 3 projects had a number that differed from what reality was. So we overran our line item for seed. And in this specific project, instead of being lump sum, we are a ticket-based contract. So we just bid it a little differently to make sure we got a contractor. And in this situation, because of the overrun, we're going to require a change order to complete the project. So we have negotiated with the contractor, Morphe Construction, for a lowered price, but unfortunately, the seed line is one of the larger ticket items per square foot. And that's because it's not only seed, but as well as the grading involved with that. So before you this evening is a change order in the amount of $130,002.66. And this would be required to complete the seeding throughout the rest of phase 2 and close out the project. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, I have one before Coralie starts. Can you speak to how we're going to find the money in the project to cover this?
Yes, fortunately, by partnering with the Department of Public Works, we received a phenomenal price on our trail side connection with the rail trail to the school. So with our appropriations in place, we can actually absorb this cost. And further, we are removing some items from the Big Four project, which will be a change order probably in the next packet, which will be a credit as we remove some of those items and move those in-house. So absorbing this cost the best we can. And this is why we put in place contingencies for these projects.
And now Coralie has questions.
Yeah. So what species are you seeding?
This is just a rye.
Okay.
So it's more for erosion control and it'll return.
But it's gonna require maintenance on that, like mowing and everything.
Yes. Yep.
So that seems like an extraordinarily large amount to put in for seeding. I mean, it's about a 3-acre area, correct?
Yep.
And so by my calculations, putting like in, to buy the seed for that area should be around $4,000. So $130,000 to put in a species that you're then going to have to spend money on to maintain seems like a really bad use of parks money. So why at that price, which is about it's over $1 per square foot, you could actually buy plug sedges and plant them for that same price. It seems it doesn't, well, we could buy a prairie restoration mix for $4,000 and not have to do the fine grading. And you wouldn't have any ongoing maintenance costs. So is there any opportunity now to change? There is no, what is the reason for putting in turf grass basically on that area?
Yeah, and so the actual physical seed is a very small portion of that unit price per square foot. It's the grading that they've put in that line item that's made it so exorbitant compared to what the actual cost of seed is. So regardless, at this time, the shoulders of the rail trail are not safe for pedestrian traffic. That's our recovery zone. It's kind of a DNR standard. That's why we moved to those 2-foot shoulders we talked about. So should a bike tire come off or there be an incident, somebody can step off safely. So at this time, that ledge is just not appropriate for that. So that all that dirt work that's in that unit price is required to get it back to a safe level.
What is you've put the price of the seed installation, but what is the price? Okay, so what is the price of the regrading?
The regrading would be approximately 91 cents per square foot.
Okay, so
The seed was right around 20 cents.
So altogether, it's what, 3 acres, but it is linear.
It's
So
linear.
there
okay,
is,
but it's
distance.
like 2.7 acres square foot wise.
right.
But okay, so you're saying that the regrading has to be done no matter what seed we're putting in.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Just to have a safe trail with our level of standard and allowing the public back on it, we would need that additional topsoil and grading.
And is that the same price that we've paid per square foot for the rest of? the
This is actually a
regrading?
negotiated lower price. So the seed line is just run over because of those variances and the erosion control problem, as well as when we shifted the spring knoll portion of the trail, that just added a little bit more. And we don't monitor how much they throw out. So the actual quantities versus the calculation can be a little bit of an error as well, but it's just compounded because it's such a large project that spanned over these 3 phases.
Okay, so given that you're having to pay this to have that regraded and you're having to seed it anyway, why are we putting in turf grass that we're going to have to pay to maintain going forward and costs us thousands of dollars to mow and things? What was the decision? What was the thinking in the decision?
That's just what we have the capacity for right now. We just haven't had experience with the sedges or experimenting with other types of plantings yet. And as I mentioned, we're fully open to exploring that, but we have to finish up this project and get the control of potential erosion in place now, and then we can always look at in the future.
But it would cost us more to remove that going forward if we're paying this amount to put it in now,
Right.
rather than, I understand that we have to finish this, but what is?
This is recovery areas, right? Is what
Yeah,
this-
and this will serve as erosion control and just stabilizing the dirt. I think there would be some challenges between the different pockets of sunlight versus the wooded corridor, and I think we would have to have a prescription for what's going to succeed throughout, this mile segment of trail, and we just haven't had the chance to explore that. And I think we have other priorities. So far our strategy for maintenance has been identifying opportunities where we can save funds. So if we're mowing an area for no reason, like with Temple Road and the golf course, as we identify those projects, we move them out of just mowing turf and we're transforming them into higher quality habitat that serves a purpose.
And I understand that. And I think, I don't want to criticize what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job. I just question spending this amount of money at this stage for something that's not ideal, because, it just seems short-term, it seems like a short-term decision. And I understand that you have to have it, erosion control, but there's definitely sedges and native plants that can do that and will require minimal maintenance going forward. if you're able to put sedges in, that would require literally no maintenance going forward. You will not have to mow that. If we're putting native plants in, you'll have to mow it twice a year.
And
And so I think, that,
yeah, and I just need to see that as an example and how that'll be applicable to the parks industry and how it'll apply to our lands.
okay, so would you, this is not a huge area, 3 acres or so. So would you be open to exploring that for this? What it, like,
I'm sorry, I missed the last.
would you be
half of that.
open to try, this seems like a realistic area to try those on so that you can, because if, so you can experiment and get to grips with it so that we can expand it to the rest of the parks board rather than putting in turf grass here and then having to dig up turf in another area to experiment and try. We already have to reseed this. So are you open to reseeding it with something other than turf grass?
What, I guess I just don't even know the investment it'll take for the establishment of it and what kind of care. We just haven't had a chance to research and establish those resources. So
yeah, what it would take to establish it is basically the same as establishing turf grass. You would have to keep it mowed for the first year or so. And then it will be very low maintenance going forward, as long as it will require the same establishment seeding, watering and mowing the first year during establishment.
You said it will require watering?
Require watering and mowing the first year during establishment, but following that, it shouldn't require ongoing.
And we don't water any portions of the rail trail turf. So that's the success rate of it is just what it establishes itself.
Right. Well, it'll require the same as turf grass to go in, many of these species. I just think it just feels a lot of
our challenges are just our
money.
limited resources. So
I understand that. But it seems like we're spending money. We're putting ourselves in a position where we're spending money and then we're tying ourselves into increased spending in the future for the maintenance of this turf grass that we're putting in, when it's not a great thing to be putting in. We are looking to reduce the area under turf grass across the parks to reduce costs and increase habitat. And if we're paying to put turf grass in, we're increasing our costs in the long term. And that doesn't seem to, it seems like this might be an opportunity. And again, I don't want to criticize what you're doing. You're doing a fantastic job. And I realize that you have that restriction of resources, but this seems like a slightly longer look at the use of our resources. You're tying yourself into increased costs going forward through maintenance with this.
My biggest concern is just what that first year of maintenance and watering would look like.
It's no more than turf grass. It's like
I'm just saying that like our turf grass is 0. It's broadcast out.
But you mow it.
Correct. Yes.
Right. It would be no more than turf grass. It would be broadcast and then mowing for the first year so that it doesn't go. Basically, what you don't want it to do is flower the first year.
Yeah. Yep. And I think our water resources throughout that segment would be the challenge as well.
Just want to throw in, just thinking from the maintenance side of things. The prairie stuff's great, but it will get tall.
It doesn't have to be a prairie species.
Well, I'm just saying, we would have to be very specific on what we grow, because anything that grows over and into the trail, we'll have to mow back off the sides anyway.
Right.
Which I think is why we go for the grass instead of.
But we have native grasses rather than it doesn't have to be a prairie mix. It can be a native mix. It's not a prairie mix. It can be or a sedge mix. If you're not open to it, that's fine and it's understandable. I just think it's really worth the Parks Board knowing that if we're paying this amount of money to put down turf grass, we are then tied into mowing and maintenance of that turf grass in the long term. And I think our overall on our master plan and our overall strategy is to reduce the amount under turf grass and to increase habitat. And it seems like this could be an opportunity to do that.
And I'm not opposed to exploring this whenever it's applicable. I just think based on our availabilities and our resources today, we should make this recreational trail turf grass for this project and explore opportunities to see how those substitutes would perform and then apply them on a grander scale. makes me nervous. And we have a very small maintenance team, 4 full-time, 1 part-time year-round, and then seasonals in the summer that are also maintaining the other 500 acres. And we, in the past year and a half, we've developed the natural resource side of that maintenance department. And they are specializing in these habitats we're establishing and the trees we're planting, so that we're not having trees that fail after year 1 because they weren't properly cared for in those first 3 years when they really need that assistance. So to experiment with this large of a segment of our trail, that's easily our heaviestly used amenity, it just makes me nervous. And from my professional opinion, I don't think we're ready to make that leap for the rail trail in that capacity. But we are open to exploring things that can be successful and that we know can be successful, like the milkweed plantings on the northern expansion. So where that makes sense, we're establishing those. Our goal is to transform that northern expansion to pollinator space. It'll be linear, and then we will continue to mow 1 swipe on each side just to allow for that recovery zone and easy maintenance. So where we can find these solutions, I'm more than willing to explore. But in this instance, to wrap up this project and not have delays, as well as based on our capacities for maintenance next year, I would propose that we stick with the turf grass.
And we have to move forward on this because we have to remote, if they have to we drag our feet, then there's mobilization, and then there's erosion, more erosion issues, and it'll cost us more money because
Correct.
we need, then, rye germinates faster, so it's gonna, hold the soil during the winter now as well too, because if we don't get it germinate now, then we're in trouble. We're gonna have, some of those areas are gonna have some heavy erosion, so.
So, okay, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and you have expertise and professional advice on this scale. I would like to request that, I have expertise in this area too, and I've offered to give you advice on what we can plant. I feel like we spend every month, we sign off thousands of dollars worth of mowing. And that is, we have a climate action plan where we're trying to reduce the amount of carbon that we're producing, and we are mowing. We are spending money mowing that is waste. And perhaps you can identify areas then where we can do. And I understand that you've done some great prairie restorations and some great prairie plantings, but it doesn't need to be prairie, and it can be low maintenance. It can be neat. It doesn't have to be prairie area. And it would be wonderful if you could maybe identify some areas going forward in these big construction projects where that's thought ahead of time, and we're not at the stage where we have to suddenly, there's been a miscalculation and suddenly we have to spend this amount of money on, on something that isn't ideal, and we're having to make a rush and not do it.
I would second that. I think that's a great idea. I'd like to see it in future plans. I understand that we're where we're at with the timing of the year and getting it in. But I would like to see it going forward, incorporated into more of the plans.
Absolutely, we can do that.
So how many times a year do we mow that, Chris? How many times a year do we mow along the trail?
We try to do a swipe on each side at least once a week.
Once a week?
So we spend thousands of dollars on mowing.
Is that burdensome to you? Is that burdensome to you and your staff?
Just one guy on the mower is just about a couple hours, maybe 4 hours.
So you go all the way up one side and then turn around and come all the way back the other side?
I just think
And just so I understand, I'm sorry, you want to say something?
I think it could be a great opportunity to educate our local constituents too about, that we're doing some trials in different areas, and we can advertise it that way and market it that way and see how it goes, and encourage them to maybe consider this in their own landscape.
So Corley, just from my understanding, so what you're saying is you're advocating for a mix that will not grow
I'm advocating
substantially enough that needs to be cut.
I'm advocating for a mix of sedges that would not grow more than a foot at maturity, and they spread out. They stabilize the grass. They're graminoids. They look like grasses. It's very hard to tell the difference between a grass and a sedge from just looking at it, but they don't need mowing. that we have native ones, they provide habitat. You can have spring ephemerals grow through them. You can have other native plants grow through them, but effectively it wouldn't, it would require, they don't germinate as quickly from seed. For sure, the sedges, you can get mixes that do, but you could put plug plants in that cost about, would cost less than $1 per plug. They spread quickly. I think that is definitely something that, I understand what you're saying with the origin and its time scale, but I do think that's something going forward that should be planted in areas where we're looking, once a grass like look, and our maintenance costs would be massively reduced.
Can I ask, I'm not familiar with sedges. I'm glad you're bringing it up. So for people who are on the rail trail and choose to run along the side of it, does it tolerate like people running on it?
Yeah, it depends. And you can mow them if you decide to mow them, most of them. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of native sedge species. And, most of them are native to Indiana. They're a really important part of our ecosystem. And most of them can be mowed, we get them, they vary in height. Most of them can be mown, same as the grass if you choose to. They don't have to be, depending on the species, they'll get from 6 inches to 3 foot maximum. Most of the nice ones that we would recommend would get to about 1 foot maximum at maturity. They would never have to be mown, and you can walk on them. There are a lot of experimental areas, and not experimental, there are a lot of municipalities that are starting to use them in place of turf grass. They're clumpy, so they're not fantastic for a playing field, but for walking on and lawns, it's a really cost-effective alternative in the long run.
So there are some areas of the trail that are just in the blazing sun all day long, and others that are in shade all day long.
Yeah, so you would change your species depending on which. So you would just, if you were for a section of trail that was in sun and dry, it would be a different species. But there we have literally, I think, over 200 sedge species here and there. They're adapted to almost every niche in the environment. So, it would be a really cost-effective thing to do. It would fit in with our climate action plan. It would reduce our costs and it would increase our habitat. So it's a kind of a win-win for everybody. I have some expertise in helping you to choose, which I would be more than happy to provide for, just help. But we also have a lot of sedge experts here in Indiana who I know who are part of the Native Plant Society, who are very willing to give their expertise on these kind of things. We have whole sedge symposiums. It's a whole
Well, here's where we are. I mean, we're at this point in the year where it would be in our best interest to get it planted with the mix that we have decided upon, or that Jared is proposing. We do have money to be able to afford it. I think in the future, there are going to be more trails that are going to be coming online, and there'll be more opportunities to look at these types of plants. So I think the expedient thing might be to go ahead and approve this change order tonight, but in the future, look to, some different vegetation along the ends of the trail or along the sides of the trail to deal with the erosion, to, give us a soft landing spot off the side of the trail. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I mean, I think if we table this and don't vote on it till next month, we're going to miss our opportunity to grow grass on the side of the trail, and it's going to be a muddy mess. And I don't think we want that in this.
Potential undermining of the trail too, so.
Yeah. So with that, if anybody has no more comments, I'll make a motion that we accept this change order as presented, with the caveat that in the future we'll be more mindful of some of the other options along the side of the trail.
I second.
John Salowitz seconds. Let's take a vote. Jill Pack.
Aye.
John Salowitz.
Aye.
Chris Barksdale.
Aye.
Kimberly Lane.
Aye.
Cora Lee.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. So it passes 6-0. Thank you. Next item, the mural on the rail trail trailhead.
Just give an update on the trailhead. We are just waiting on a couple of items to be installed, and then that will be ready to welcome the public. While we're closed and finishing up, we do have the gift from the Zionsville Parks Foundation, and that is a new mural on the trailhead that'll feature a scene like you would see on Eagle Creek and portions of that. So the mural was originally proposed for Bloor Lane, the bridge, but there was some issues with that design once again. So ultimately, this slightly smaller project seemed like a better fit for the foundation. So that mural is underway and should be there to welcome people as they enter the site next month.
And as far as the trailhead, the construction fence is down, the, porta potty's gone. It looks like all construction operations have ended. We're just looking for a couple more parts. And what is the timeline now to open this up?
It really just depends on the shipping of a couple of items. We just want to have a complete project, so we're not working after the doors open.
This is a all-season bathroom, correct?
Yes, rain or shine, winter or summer, you can
I
go
was
in
gonna say,
there.
we're open and close it. I didn't know, I couldn't remember if it was.
Yeah, they are dawn to dusk, just like the majority of our park system. So there are magnet locks on the doors that once it is dusk and the light on the inside goes off, they will lock for the evening. So
So we don't have to do any action on this tonight, although if you have a chance to stop by and see it, you may want to do that. It's cool. It's coming together. It's very cool. Okay, anything else under old business?
that is all.
I have just a couple of things under other board related items. I think it would be remiss of us not to mention the extraordinary effort by Jared and Mindy and the rest of the staff and others, including Amanda Vila, to organize some of the recent events we've had to highlight some of our successes, like the rail trail extension and the Carpenter Nature Preserve. Reasons to celebrate. And, they were well attended and well thought of and well done. And I think it's all very positive for our park department in our town. So thank you for your effort. Also, some of you may or may not know that by the next time we meet, Jared is going to be a married man. And not only is he going to get married, but he's going to marry up at the same time. So we should congratulate him on that effort and wish him
Thank you.
all the happiness we can. He's going to be getting married next week. So he'll be out of the office, obviously, and
Congratulations.
enjoying a short honeymoon as well. So congratulations.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Anybody else have anything on other board related items? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Claims. Everybody have a chance to look at the claim.
Yes,
Any thoughts on the claims?
just that Carpenter is
Yeah.
in it again. We approved it last month with Carpenter in it, and it's in it again. So we just need to make sure that
We're not paying for it
we
twice.
clarify that we're not approving that payment twice.
Well, there's not enough money in that account to pay for it twice. So, why is it in there twice?
I believe that we sought the authorization last month, and then this is the actual transaction, but we'll
Okay.
firm that up with finance and make sure there's not a $9 million bill there.
Yeah. Okay. And then one other thing that I want to point out on page 4, I think it is. Yes, page 4. At the bottom, there is a charge for the Zionsville Cultural District, which is $982. That is money that comes to us from the Boone County Foundation that we are simply a pass-through. And it's a legality that the foundation gives the money to us, the cultural district spends it, and we just pass it through to them. So if anybody had any questions about that, that's a bit of a large expense, and that's what that is. And I don't see any other questions on there. If anybody else has anything. If not, do we have a motion to accept the claims as presented? With a question about the
The notation.
cost for the Carpenter Nature Preserve. So Joel makes the motion. We have a second.
Second.
John Salowitz second. So let's take a vote. Joel Pack,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale,
Aye.
Kimberly Lane,
Aye.
Orly Palmer,
Hi.
and I say aye as well. All right, that's it. If nobody has anything else, I would take a motion for adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
John Salowitz makes a motion. Do we have a second? Corley Palmer seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, that's it. Please sign your paperwork before leaving the building. And our next meeting is November 8th. And we'll see you all then. Thank you.